Aloha, my name is Anjali Trice, and I am the author of the Conscious Education Project, 21 Qualities to Create Dynamic Learners. Now, this is an adjunct curriculum for 3rd through 10th graders. Now, by adjunct, I mean that this curriculum goes along with regular academic studies. And as I said before, it has 21 qualities as the foundation. And the purpose is to create a dynamic learner. A dynamic learner is a student that is empowered to learn at their best potential and has tools to help them if they find that they're not in that situation. So the last video I did was called Vantage Point, and I discussed the meaning of vantage point. Now this video is called The Way We Start Creates the Finish, and it's the second quality in the particular curriculum, in my curriculum that I'm talking about. Now, in most of our lives as an adult, we speak many times about our physical life, our intellectual life, our emotional life, and our spiritual life. But for the children, I speak to them in this quality about their physical life and their emotional life. So I have 4 exercises that I do in this quality. And the first one is we talk about a code of behavior. Now the code of behavior is how do we act in our class. In the olden days we'd call it the rules of the classroom, but I've shifted that to the code of behavior. And I want to read to you a few things out of my book that I talk about within this exercise of the code of behavior. And as a facilitator, this is from the facilitator manual. A facilitator note that I say is, make sure as the facilitator that a code is included which states that we never laugh at or criticize what a person in our class shares, and that students keep an open attitude or vantage point throughout the course. Also, instead of wording the codes in any negative language, make it clear that all codes are written in the positive. For example, always support whoever chooses to share. Walk in our classroom. Speak the truth kindly. And then what I do is I ask the students, after we've discussed this idea of code of behavior, I ask the students to break up into small groups and discuss what they think would be the most important codes in the classroom. And then we come back together and share and create the codes. And we illustrate little posters and we put them up around the room. Now, this code of behavior can also apply to your family. And you can think, if you're doing this curriculum with your family and you're not doing it as a part of a classroom, you can create codes of behavior within the situations and interactions that you do as a family. And that's really important. And then the situations become much clearer. So that is the first exercise we do. And this covers more of the emotional quotient. Then what we do, which is really fun, is in the student manual, which I'm going to show you, we begin to chart. And we're going to chart our bedtime, our morning feelings, like how do we wake up in the morning, our daily food, and our evening feeling. Now, if you read some of the literature that's out there right now, they talk a lot about how we start our day. Do we start our day going, oh, I'm really exhausted and I don't really want to be going anywhere. I'd rather just stay in bed. Or do we start our day from a more of a positive attitude? So I discuss this with the students. How do we start our day? The way we start creates the finish. So here is an example of the chart. And this chart is in the student handbook for 2 weeks. And we start each day while we're studying this quality in small groups sharing this chart. And then we come back together and we discuss it. And I ask the students to be honest. And I ask them to think about, what did they eat this morning? The way we start creates the finish. Not only do we eat, what did we eat this morning, but what if we have an afternoon class, what did we eat for lunch? What did we think during the day? So that's the emotional quotient here, and the way we start creates our finish. And then the next exercise that we do is watching the movie Super Size Me. Now that is a movie about a man who ate McDonald's for 1 month. And what happened to him? What do you think happened to him? So we discuss before we watch the movie, we kind of predict what do we think happened. And then we watch the movie and we discuss. Very interesting what happened to him. And then the last exercise that we do is what's in your backpack. And I don't warn them. I say, okay, today we're going to talk about our backpacks, because our backpacks are a very important part of our day. What are we carrying in our backpack? And in my experience as a teacher, I would not notice that not only would kids show up without lunch or with very little lunch, or their backpacks would have things just strewn in them. They would have old gum wrappers, they would have old food in there, they would have old homework. They couldn't even find their new homework. So they get with a buddy and they pour out their backpacks. The first thing that I do is I pour out my purse. And I try to do it in a spontaneous way, even though I do check beforehand what's in my purse. And I put a few things in there that are a little off, but I try to also show organization within that. As a part of the way we start creates the finish, I always like to bring in the other qualities that we've been talking about in each of the qualities that we've been studying. Now this is only the second quality, so the only quality that I can bring in to discuss is vantage point. So what I would do in my life right now is I would include something personal, because it makes the students feel connected with me and I feel more connected with them when I'm sharing something that's going on with me. Right now I'm going to be going on a trip to Zambia and South Africa. So I would start out by saying, my vantage point where I sit right now is that I have 12 more days before I leave on my trip. And I've done some things to get ready for that trip. And the first thing is, I would bring in this bag. I would say I have purchased at Ross, which is more reasonable than somewhere else expensive, I have purchased a carry-on bag. And these are the things, and I'm going to go very quickly through it, just so that you can see the way we start to create the finished. I've gotten some closed-toed shoes. I've gotten some empty containers that can be carried on. I bought some pharmaceuticals to help me if I get sick. I have some special soaps. And in here, I have many, many things like some handy wipes, some stuff for mosquitoes. I have some colloidal silver that's really good for the immune system in a little container. And then, what else do I have? Another bag for toiletries. I started to get this all ready. And I have another bag that has things in it. And the individual things are kind of fun and important. I have some soap on paper. I have some gum. I'm going to be on a 24-hour trip when I'm traveling, so I have some no jet lag pills. Maybe that'll help. I have some rescue remedy. I have all of these things in here. Oh, and I have some oils that are really, really good for you, all in a case. And then I have another case that I've thrown in here to put earrings in, okay? And this is my bag that I pulled out. That will go as my purse. And in there, I have my passport with all of my shots taken care of. So that's where I am, and I have 12 days left before I leave. So I've had to think about my finances, because you can't buy everything all at once, and I've had to think about maybe the things that I might need. And that is the way we start creates the finish. That's a physical need. What is the emotional need that we have in general? We need to stay connected to who we're traveling with. I need to reach out to the people that I'm visiting and make sure that they know that I'm looking forward to seeing them. I need to make sure that my body is healthy and rested and taken care of. Even though I have only 12 days left, 12 days is still a lot. So this is something that I can share with my class, and that teaches them, oh, Anjali, my teacher, is doing this in her life. And it wakes them up. It changes their vantage point about their life. What are they doing in their life? How are they handling their life? And how do they start each day emotionally, physically, mentally? How do they start their day? And that's the whole point of this quality, is to wake them up to that so that they become a more conscious learner. And they come to school with a backpack that's a little bit more organized. Maybe they begin to plan their lunch. And the last thing I wanted to say was, I used to talk a lot about this point at parent-teacher conferences and a parent-teacher evening. And I would ask the parents, please have your child prepared with their homework, with their lunch. And that didn't always work, because the parent has their own thing going on. So I thought, I'm going to go straight to the source. I'm going to teach the student themselves how to manage their homework, to empower them that their homework is about them bringing it, not waiting for the parents to ask them. Their lunch is about them. And in 3rd grade, they can prepare their own lunch. In 3rd grade, they can look in their backpack and say, is it organized? And they can also begin to say, how do I think when I wake up in the morning? The way I start creates the finish. And that's this second quality of the Conscious Education Project, 21 Qualities to Create Dynamic Learners. Thank you so much. And the next quality tomorrow that I'll be speaking about is understanding fear. Aloha.